Though Infamous Second Son isn't a PlayStation 4 launch title, it is definitely a title that most PlayStation 4 owners looked at when deciding whether or not they were going to become PS4 early adopters. The Infamous series isn't the hottest selling, but its fans have come to love this sandbox superhero series. Gamers play as Delsin, an Akomish Native American living in Washington state. He is essentially the tribe's troublemaker, while his brother Reggie is the polar opposite as the straight-arrow police officer, a fact he never misses an opportunity to flaunt. After a conduit wreaks havoc on their fellow tribe members, Reggie and Delsin follow the villain to Seattle to absorb her powers in hopes of restoring the health of their family. But of course, it's not a simple straight line. The villain also happens to be the head of the DUP, a governmental agency whose job is to track down and either incarcerate or eliminate conduits hidden within society. Delsin's core power is similar to Rogue's from the X-Men. He absorbs the power of other conduits. Unlike Rogue, however, he doesn't steal their life force, and the absorption appears to be permanent. Delsin befriends some DUP escapees, and through them, he gains their power of neon, smoke, and video, and uses them to fight back against DUP control in Seattle. The story of Second Son isn't nearly as good as either of the prior entries in the series, but it's certainly serviceable. Brooke Augustine, the game's antagonist, pales in comparison to Kessler, or the concept of the beast. But the setting and its populace are what truly make the game come alive. Players will feel the contempt of the game's citizens as they adopt a discriminatory us versus them mentality.
Hey, Delsin, we got a problem. Some of the people on the bus, they saw you doing your super thingy to clear the way. And they're afraid of you.
What?
Look, I told you, man, bioterrorists aren't especially popular.
So what am I, like Rosa Parks, and they want me to sit on the back of the bus?
No, they want you to sit outside the bus.
Second Son looks great. If you're a fan of particle effects, the game is practically slathered in them, and it'll be a while before you grow tired of drawing energy from neon signs, watching the tiny specks of light and color dance slowly in the air just before you absorb them into your body. Everything looks great, and it's clear most of the game runs north of the 30 frames per second mark. The explosions, the destructible objects, the superpowers, the gorgeous shadows and reflections, everything comes together to make Second Son one of the best looking games currently on the market. But beauty is only skin deep. Infamous would just be another second-rate game if it didn't have the controls and the gameplay to match it. The controls are spot on, and players will find the new DualShock 4 a joy to work with. It uses the touch sensor well, and the built-in speaker plays nicely as a ringer on the game's cell phone. There are even some mini-missions where you shake the controller and use the motion control as a spray can to leave your Banksy-esque mark on the city. Which powers Delsin uses are dependent on the last element he absorbed. Each set has its own unique light attack, heavy attack, disabling power, travel power, and the creme de la creme, an ultimate attack that is unlocked from either going on an evil or a good streak. Without a doubt, we found Neon to be the superior power both inside and outside of combat. It's fun to tinker with video once the player unlocks it, but once the player gets Neon, Smoke feels like a total downgrade. As a whole, using the superpowers felt fantastic, especially when you unlock some of the better travel powers. Infamous Second Son still uses the parkour system set in place from the first two, but doesn't rely on it nearly as much, making it a much faster experience. Like past Infamous games, there is a morality spectrum. You can change your morality based on your actions with innocent civilians. Kill civilians, street performers, and protesters, you become evil. Heal civilians, perform drug busts, and release innocent conduits, and you become good. The more extreme you become with your morality choices, the more powers become unlockable. However, the game only presents enough power shards to activate either all the good or all the evil powers. Playing neutral has no player benefit. But there are also morality choices within the story, which have little or nothing to do with how you behave in the open world. Some of the choices are ambiguous at best, but the game labels them as either pure evil or pure good. Other choices, however, are less so. You either pick the path that any semi-decent person in the world would, or you play the role of a total jackass. Without mincing words, the morality system in Infamous Second Son is outdated at best, and we found it to be the low point of the game. It worked okay 5 years ago, but by now we were hoping that Sucker Punch would come forward with a new bag of tricks, especially since so many other games have led the charge and dropped good and evil for more direct and lasting choices and consequences. The game would almost be better off asking the player, would you like to play the role of the hero or villain before the first mission, and then let the game unfurl from there. As a character, we didn't care for Delsin at all. Whether he chose a good or evil path, he always seemed completely unappealing. However, we did care about the people around him. His tribe members, especially Betty, were genuinely sweet. His brother Reggie, while a little too lawfully good, felt like the braver of the two brothers, always trying to help those in need with his normal human powers. Despite the semi-weak story and the lackluster morality system, Infamous is still remarkably fun. Racking in between 12 and 14 hours, it was a little shorter than we expected, but not too short to mark it as a negative. If it isn't clear, we truly enjoyed our time with Infamous Second Son in spite of its flaws, and we can recommend it for anyone who owns a PlayStation 4. The gameplay, combat, and visuals are all solid. It's not so hot that we think people need to go out and buy a PlayStation 4 to experience it, but good enough to hold us over until the next big title comes along.